Hey, welcome back. It's Monday morning. It's been a hot one. Obviously, the kids go back on Wednesday, so 2 more days and everything's going to settle down a little bit. And last week we talked about school bus safety and trying to get back and forth to school. This morning, there's a jury panel coming in, and they will be lining up probably around 9:30. To sit on a murder case that we've got going on. We've got a whole list of cases, and we'll go back and cover those next week, whether we win, lose, or however it goes. We'll try to update you. In other courtrooms, there will be pleas and motions going on for the upcoming September terms of court. So a lot more this week, but last week we were not in court. So what prompts this, I always tell you, if you've got any questions or anything, put them in the comments and we'll try to answer them. Last night there was an episode of Snapped. That is this series that I think it's on the Oxygen channel. If you've got anything past basic cable, you know, there's a lot of crime and justice type forensic files, law and crime, I think is one of them. Dateline, 2020, some other shows, Snapped, the Oxygen Network. All of those guys come around and just give you behind the scenes of how that looks. Once a case catches a little bit of notoriety, probably won't bubble up too much with the Sun News or our local affiliates. But those local affiliates are also tied in with print and video media to Columbia, to Charlotte, to other places. And that's how regionally they start picking up, oh gosh, this is an interesting case. Sometimes it just amazes me on what they will pick up on. But one of those channels will call and say, look, we are trying to do a series or at least a video on Heather Elvis case, or that strangler case out of Carolina Forest got, you know, a bunch of attention, and then it sort of feeds itself. So when one of these producers sees what Snap done with it, then they want to do one for 60 minutes or 2020 or something like that. And they'll call around, and generally speaking, it's always been our goal, as is this video, to show you everything that we can show you. So whether we do well in the case or whether we don't, we try to give all of the stuff that was used in trial. That's pretty much okay. That we can give them through FOIA. We turn that over to them, and that way they can produce a fairly realistic and accurate story. There are things, like if I knew something that I couldn't get into court, but it makes me know that A did it. If I couldn't use it in court, I really don't like putting that out afterwards, even if we've convicted them on whatever we've convicted them on. I generally don't do that, because court has a way, you've got people that can cross-examine from the other side and a way of ferreting out the truth. It's an ugly process, and I complain about it all the time, but at least if there's somebody there to answer for it, I feel more comfortable putting that out as part of it. So if I knew a fact, A, but I also knew there's no way that this is coming in because it's hearsay or it's less reliable, most of the time I don't turn that over to the media, because it just wouldn't be fair for me to say, here's how I know that this person did it. If I can't get it in through court, most of the time it won't come in on one of these shows. I tell you all that to say the show is fairly accurate. Now, they bring in actors, they bring in other people, and they take some liberty with the facts that they're coming out. But those guys will send a production crew, and even though it's either just showing me on the other side of the camera or a police officer, generally speaking, there is a person in the room that's interviewing it, and they're asking you a question, and then they would say, tell me what the weather was like on February 9th, 1998. And I am prompted then, because they won't show the question, 2020 will, but most of them won't show the question. You'll just, in your answer, say, on February 8th, 1998, the weather was gloomy and rainy. So you'll incorporate what they've given you into your answer. And then they'll piece that together and put together a program along with the actors and other stuff. I always tease them, go ahead and get George Clooney or somebody to play me. They're not. They're getting somebody that probably couldn't qualify for soap opera. But, you know, Hollywood and New York's full of actors, so they can find somebody to play the role. It just won't be Clooney or Pitt or any of those guys. But that's sort of how that rolls out. And they reach out to different people, and they ask, family members to interview. The interview itself will take sometimes 2 or 3 hours, and then they'll piece and cut from that the 1 hour segment. So they may interview me for 3 hours, they may interview Debbie Elvis for 2 or 3 hours, Terry Elvis, Heather Elvis's friends, all of those interviews. There's probably 20 hours worth of video, but they've got to cut that down to 1 hour minus commercials. So it won't go as in depth as a 2 or 3 week trial, but it'll get there. Now, a different type of interview that aired last week for CBS this morning, Sunday morning. Probably all of y'all were in church and weren't watching it, and that's an okay thing too. But that was one of these interviews that was, I think the girl's name was Erin Morandari or something. Real nice lady. She came down, and that interview would show her and me, and she was doing part of the questioning, or all of the questioning, and then they had people with lights and cameras and all of that stuff set up. So that's sort of how that works. We certainly don't push out and promote. We don't pick the cases they want to do, but they get it from a newsreel or print video, and then they decide that's something. And they generally want to wait until at least the first part of the appeals are over. So some of these you won't see for 2 or 3 years because they're waiting to make sure it doesn't get kicked out at the Court of Appeals. The appeals go on forever, so there's no way to really stop at a particular time, but that's kind of behind the scenes and why they do what they do and how it comes up. If you got any questions on that or anything else, next week we'll try to cover the trials from this week, but we're always, about every other week we're out of court. So if there's anything you want answered, please just hit us up in the comments and we'll try to answer it for you.